I got to know right off the bat, how does the locker room feel about this game? Because you can find a way to be happy with how you played, but I imagine they're not happy with losing. So how does that balance?
It was a weird vibe. You've got, I think, three different guys, funny enough, we all talked to in Cale, Nate, and Wedgewood, who all felt, like very different emotions from the three of them. You've got Nathan MacKinnon, who's a beast and is going to, after a game like that, you're not going to expect the, candid Nate version of Nate you got after last game. But for the most part, everybody, it's hard to, the disappointment is there, but it's hard to feel bad about it when that's the version of the team that you're getting. They did everything they needed to do to clean up after the atrocity that was the game against Pittsburgh. And what can you do? You get a great bounce back game out of Scott Wedgewood, and you run into a really hot goaltender and a guy like Jake Oettinger. I mean, it's really difficult, but as far as the guys in the room, it's really hard to feel bad. It stings, but they can't really. What are you going to do? There's not a whole lot to break down as far as big mistakes. They did most everything the right way. They fixed everything they needed to fix, and that's kind of how they feel about it.
Bailey, this is something you've talked about before in the season too that I wanted to ask you about. Did Oettinger play great tonight? Absolutely. But at what point, it's the biggest game of the season, when does getting goalied stop being an excuse and you have to find a way to get another goal?
It's when it's a 1-goal game like that, it's hard to win games. It doesn't matter the goal kind of goaltender you're running into. If you can't score, you're going to be hard pressed to win games and win them well. Finishing can absolutely be an issue. And I feel like every playoffs you run into, you get a hot goaltender at some point during the series on either side. It doesn't matter where that comes from. So that really can't be an excuse going into a playoff series. And this is the first real test of this. We talked a lot last game about the last one in Dallas feeling like a playoff atmosphere. This was that times 3. Given how close it was, you've got guys that are missing on both sides and they still can't get it done. They're still finding issues with scoring goals, and it can't be an excuse. It really can't. When you've got a good goaltender playing the way that Jake Oettinger is, you need to find the weak spots. You need to find, is that coverage up high lacking? How can we expose that a little bit? And you see Cale figure that out on the power play, which is, fantastic. But I've started lacking after that. And again, I don't know how much I can say lacking because Jake Oettinger played a fantastic game. But at the end of the day, the finishing has to be better. Absolutely. That's the only way you're going to win games. Looking at the playoffs as well, you're not going to see games like this that are decided in a shootout. You're not going to see, opportunities for bad 3-on-3 overtimes because that's simply just not going to happen. And so being able to finish on a goaltender and being able to break him more than once is crucial in beating a team like the Stars, especially when you have Jake Oettinger performing the way that he is.
What was the big takeaway from Bednar tonight?
Big takeaway is, what can you do? Really, the team did everything that was asked of them after the last result that they collected. The big one that stands out to me is there's very little bad that he has to say after a game like this. When your team is pretty much outperforming for the entirety of the game, they held Dallas to 1 shot on goal for the first 10 minutes of the game. And after that, what can you do? When your team is dominating that much, especially in the shot department, you're playing everything you need to do. You're doing everything you need to do defensively. You've cleaned up your game. You're finding ways to get into the offensive zone and you put multiple shots. They've got 30 plus shots. on Jake Oettinger again tonight. You're creating those chances. You're creating those opportunities. You're doing everything that's asked of you. Very little to critique there. He mentioned in games like this that are high stakes, that are high octane, it is a game of mistakes at this point. The little mistakes matter the most in a game like this, where, Dallas is giving very little, whether that's out there on the ice or their goaltender is playing a fantastic game. You have to be able to capitalize on those mistakes, and they were little ones as far as Jared Bednar was concerned.
Yeah, it's hard to balance a game like this, right? Because you feel really good about so many things, but you can't feel good about the result. So you're kind of left in this limbo where how do the Avs recover from this? And recover is probably not the right word. I don't think they were really all that devastated by this, but is the next step having to set up rattle off a bunch of wins, or are you looking at the next Dallas game?
I think in their eyes, just based on some of the comments from a guy like Cale Makar this morning, they can't afford to look that far ahead. And they're really not. Like, playoffs in their minds is still really, really far away. They're a take one step at a time kind of team. That is the mentality they've gone through the entire season with. I don't think that's going to change with this last stretch of games. They've got 8 days, 4 games to make sure that this process that they executed in the Dallas game is the right one and that it is repeatable. So I think that's where their mind is at right now, is making sure that there are not, Bednar during practice the other day mentioned that he approaches each game with a plug the boat kind of mentality. And there's not a whole lot of holes to plug after a game like this. And so making sure that those holes stay plugged and you can continue to roll with that, I think, is the biggest, mindset that these guys are going into this next stretch of games with. You worry about Dallas when Dallas gets closer. It's one that coaches maybe have circled on their calendars, but as far as the players are concerned, focus on the game in front of you. That's how they're going to go into this next handful of games on the road.
Did this one feel different in the building? Like, what was the atmosphere like?
Gosh, it's anytime these two teams meet, it's, the fans and the crowd, or you've got cheers going both ways. It's an electric building, and the guys feed off of that too. You can see that on the ice. I think that's with any sort of playoff feeling environment. You see that gritty physical game kind of come out. You see some of that management have to go into overdrive on all sides, all parts of the ice, whether that's puck management, managing emotions, whatever it might be. Fans are a huge part of that. Anytime these two teams come together in a building, it is absolutely electric, and you can tell that with the way these games turn out on the ice.
That's all I have. But Bailey, any final thoughts on this one?
No, it's like I mentioned. The Avs need to not overthink a game like this. That's really, again, you've got this 8-day stretch on the road. Overthinking a situation like this and the result that this one turned out is the last thing that they need to do. Otherwise, you're looking at a stretch of games against Chicago, against Pittsburgh, who you'd really like to see them bounce back against, maybe turning out in devastating fashion. And that is the last thing they need when you've got a matter of 2 points separating you from the team right underneath you. And that is not the gap that the Avs had at the beginning of the season. I'm sure it's not one that they're comfortable with right now. So not overthinking a win like this, going into the road trip, realizing that if you continue to play like this, you're going to win 9 out of 10 games. Go into the next stretch of 4 games with that mindset, and you're golden.
The Avs win 9 out of 10. I bet you they're more than 2 points ahead.
Yeah, no, and as long as they can do that, I have zero worries about this team. I'll tell you that.
Yep. That's also true. Bailey, thank you for calling in. We'll let you go. Make sure you're following Bailey on Twitter, Bailey Curtis with 2 Y's in Bailey. That was the courtesy call live on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line.